Brain Research Findings, Implications for Educators, presented by Tashika Dawkins, Middle School English Teacher. Okay, teachers, let's begin by discussing why this research information is so essential for the everyday classroom. We must first understand how the brain functions in order to be able to capitalize on the time that we spend in the classroom and to maximize overall student learning. We will begin by discussing the 4 most recent findings in brain research. Number 1, the brain is sculpted through experience. Number 2, the brain seeks meaningful patterns. Number 3, emotion is a catalyst for learning. And number 4, there are 2 types of memory. Let's begin with the first finding. The brain is sculpted through experience. This sculpting is called neuroplasticity. The human brain is essentially plastic. You can change its function based on what it is that you do with it. So teachers, we are not simply teaching our students, we are actually shaping their brains. So teachers, what are the implications for our classroom? We must first consider every aspect of the learning environment. For example, the teacher's stance, the ambiance of the classroom, any potential distractions within the classroom, and the overall classroom setup. This brings us to our second finding in recent research. The brain seeks meaningful patterns. Teachers, take a moment to look at the picture on the slide. What does this mean for your classroom on a daily basis? In seeking meaningful patterns, the brain must separate meaningful information from meaningless information. If info is deemed meaningless, students' brains simply cannot hang on to it. The brain is made up of a network of connected information. When new information is introduced, the brain searches through thousands of networks to try and make sense of whatever that information may be. If no sense is made, it then becomes nonsense, which is immediately discarded by the brain. So, what are the implications here, teachers? If there is no network for students to connect within their brains, the teachers must work to create one. How can we do this? Well, we could first start by utilizing multisensory modalities for learning. We could also work to create a hands-on learning experience for our students. Most importantly, we must figure out a way to hook the information to something the students are already familiar with. This brings us to our third finding. Emotion is a catalyst for learning. Teachers, take a look at the picture you see before you. Doesn't it look like the typical adolescent brain? Overflowing with tons of information and all kinds of emotions going literally haywire within the brain. When looking at the brain from an emotional standpoint, there are 4 key things that we must remember. The first thing is that emotions can either impede or enhance learning. The second thing is that when an experience is emotionally connected, whether that be positive or negative, it is remembered longer. We also must note that the brain has two parts connected to memory. First, we have the amygdala, which holds emotional memory. This is why students can remember things such as their first kiss or the first time someone made them laugh. Then we have the hippocampus, which stores episodic memory connected to emotion. So, teachers, how can we aid students emotionally in order to improve their learning? We could start by helping them to experience positive emotions within the classroom. This can be done through academic success, by rewarding students, recognizing their behaviors, or presenting them with something simple, such as a star or a sticker when they do good work. We could also provide simulation learning for our students. Well, what does this look like? The students could work to put together a project, to build a model, or utilizing problem-based learning. This could help the students emotionally, which could lead to them succeeding academically. Our final research finding has to do with the two types of memory present within the brain. The first type is what we call procedural memory, also known as unconscious memory. This is the part of the brain that remembers unconscious processes, such as walking, driving, writing, and decoding. Teachers, something that's very important to remember regarding decoding. Until the brain can decode unconsciously, there will be no comprehension. So let's think about our struggling readers. Decoding is a process that is very, very difficult for them. So we first have to teach them that process before we can expect them to do things unconsciously or to remember them. The second type of memory is declarative or conscious memory. This is when students can remember episodes or concepts, such as what they ate for dinner last night, or Newton's theory of relativity. How can we aid students in their procedural memory? The first thing that we must remember is that it needs rote rehearsal. If we want our students to become unconscious at doing such an activity, we first have to use repetition to teach it to them. Teachers, also keep in mind that practice makes permanent, not perfect. This is especially important when teaching students things such as spelling or vocabulary. In order for students to master those types of concepts, they need more elaborate rehearsal as opposed to rote rehearsal. Elaborate rehearsal is things such as reciprocal teaching, utilizing visual aids, creating a rhyme or a rap, or anything that students can put to rhythm. Also, acting it out is an excellent way for students to commit something to procedural memory. So, teachers, we've looked at the 4 most recent findings in brain research. But what does it all mean? The most important thing for us to remember is that it is actually possible to train the brain to do what you want it to do. It is not easy, but definitely well worth the time spent. Good luck in your classrooms.